Sweet surrender as I love, serve, and remember.
So I heard this story, and it was a while ago. It was a husband and wife. They lived up in Minnesota, and it was just really cold this one winter, and they were done with the cold. So they just spontaneously said, let's just go to Florida. We went there on our honeymoon decades ago. Let's go and revisit the hotel. And they got the hotel reservations. And they wanted to go that day. But there was only room on the plane for one person. So they decided, all right, the husband will go down first, and then his wife will come down the next day. So he flies down. He gets into the hotel. And this is the days before we all had computers. So I don't know if you remember this. When you go to a hotel, they had like a little business center, and you could go down and use their computer. So he went down and used their computer, and he emailed his wife to let her know. He said, I just want to let you know, or put that on marker on that. He emailed her. But what happened was he emailed it, but he just missed one letter. So it didn't go to her. It went to another woman who lived in Texas. Now, the woman in Texas who received the email had just buried her husband that morning and was in grief. So she went to look at her email to see if people had emailed anything, and she fainted, and her son came to say, what's going on? And he read the email, and what the email said was, hi, my lovely wife. She thinks it's to her. Just want to let you know I've arrived safely. I bet you're surprised to hear from me, but they let you use computers here, and so I can email you. He said, I have it all set up, and we're ready for you to arrive tomorrow. I hope your trip is as uneventful as mine. P.S. It's really hot down here. You never know when you're going to hear a note from the other side. Oh, I just love that so much. Our wonderful path, the paths that we travel. And of course, that gets to what is God. And last week we're talking, just a recap, about the 4 yogas. And yoga means what? Union with God, right on the money there. And so these are the 4 paths in Hinduism, 4 paths to God. And the key here is not just the 4 paths, but to God. The purpose of all 4 of these paths is for oneness, is to know our unification, our oneness and union in spirit. And what Hinduism acknowledges is that we all have different styles and that we're not all the same. And so as we learn these 4 different paths, the way it's often taught, traditionally it's like you're specifically primarily one, and then you have the other ones, where I feel like once we've been, especially in our much more world-centric life, and we're exposed to so much more, we have all 4 paths. We can actively participate in all 4 paths. And what we each want to do is say, where do I prefer? Where do I resonate? How do these interact with one another? So I'll just give, for example, I would say of the 4 paths, my 2 strongest are these, the Jnana Yoga from last week, which is the path of knowledge or the path of reflection, contemplation. And this week is Bhakti Yoga, which is the path of love, or really devotion. And then we're doing Raha Yoga is the royal way. That's next week, and that's meditation, through meditative states. And then the 4th is through action, Karma Yoga. So Jnana Yoga last week is when we ask these questions. What is, even using the word God, that sort of means you grew up in sort of a Judeo-Christian background, but everybody has different backgrounds, and you have different names for that one presence. The presence is what's important. There are people who resonate with God, some people universe, spirit, Brahma, Allah, the isness of all life, the thing itself. And then it's not just about the name, because that's just a name. one of the important things to contemplate is, what does that actually mean to me? It's fun asking people about how they see God. I'm just going to use the word God because it's what I grew up with, and to try to come up with 5 different names every time confuses me. So I'm just going to use it, but it means the same. If you use a different name, we're talking about the same thing. What does that mean? What does God mean to me? Often when I talk to people, I get a sense of it's like, well, you know it, but you don't know it, how you describe it. But it's a really important thing. When we die, I'm always surprised at the huge amount of variety of answers. And it's all good. It's just getting clear on what you think and to take time. Jnana Yoga is the intention of taking the time, being interested, to ask the questions, to be curious, to wonder, because what wondering and being curious and asking the questions does is it can lead to direct revelation. You can have spiritual experiences while reading a book. Sometimes we love to talk about oneness, but we separate the mind and the heart like they're 2 separate things. Spirit is equally in our minds and our concepts as in our heart. So you can read a book, you can have thoughts. Any of these things can, when you take it deeply enough, when you go deeply enough with what you're contemplating, can open you up to a direct experience of the divine. And that's important as we go into the Bhakti Yoga. So Jnana Yoga tends to be impersonal. You're contemplating, you're witnessing, we were talking a little bit about witnessing, becoming the I am, witnessing life. There's a little bit of a detachment. When you're contemplating ideas, there can be a detachment from them. You're thinking about them, you're contemplating. It's an impersonal energy. Mindfulness meditation is a practice that goes really well with Jnana Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is very emotional. It's very personal. It's not indifferent. It is not detached at all. It's a path of devotion. There is a sense in this practice of two-ness. And the idea of the path to God in Bhakti Yoga is so where the Jnana Yoga gets very much into the I am. God is I am, which might sound like a prayer type, the way we pray. Bhakti Yoga is I thou, but not from separation, because the thou is inside of us. And that's a hard thing sometimes for people to get, but it's external. When you really get into that oneness, it's both external and internal. But the awareness is it's much greater than my small self, and I devote myself to it. I give myself to it in love. I personally experience this path as the most vulnerable. Because anything that we give our heart to, we're vulnerable. We're not I am. I'm not the one in charge. I'm not knowing my oneness and union in God as the I am. I am saying of myself, my small self, I am tiny, and this divine presence of which I surrender to is much greater than me. And the way we continue to grow on the devotional path is to surrender to that presence, to give ourselves, not out of fear. That would be stage 1, if we go all the way back to July. Stage 1, sort of feeling like a victim, powerless. This is a choice. I love that Reverend Michael said we begin with the desire to have Bhakti Yoga. I was talking to a friend of mine, and pretty much all my friends are CSL ministers. So, like most CSL ministers, she's been doing treatments for years, decades, really powerful, teaches treatment. That's her passion. And we had a conversation this past week, because we're doing devotion, and she was saying to me, she doesn't feel devotion at all. Like, she doesn't even get it. But the thing she said was, I want to. It's missing from my life. And that's where we get to the point of choice. For some people, you might have been born with a naturally devotional temperament, and give yourself to something greater than you. But for other people, it may not be the natural state that you go to. That there's no, for her, it's an isness, which we teach, is an isness that moves through and as you, but it's not something you commune with. I've asked a lot of people, well, let me just say this. I'm going to stay with the choice. So one of the reasons that she wants to develop this part of her spirituality is because even with the demonstrations and the standing in the power, she gets lonely. She gets like, it's all up to me to know the truth, or people praying for me, but there's not a level of connection with something greater. And that her heart is beginning to long for that. Long to know not just the I am, but the connection with it. I had a conversation with Jack, and I actually had forgotten about this conversation, I don't know, sometime in the last year. And I don't remember what instigated it. It was usually after service, because we always have great talks after service. And I said to him, I said, well, I know you do all these spiritual practices every day, but I don't ever hear you say you love God, or like I don't hear the expression of like, oh, I love God so much, and I said, and he says, well, I don't really think about it in that way. I'm like, oh, okay, and that was it for the conversation, and I didn't think anything of it, and then just this past, it was either last week or this past week, we weren't talking about Bhakti Yoga. He just happened to say, well, or maybe we were talking about it. You always know what I'm going to talk about because I end up talking about it all the time. And he said, well, ever since we had that conversation, I've decided I wanted to bring that into my life. So did you know ever since we've had that conversation, I wake up every morning and I say, I love you, God. And then I dedicate my day to God. I give it over to God, and I intentionally do it, and I intentionally do it throughout the day. I give this to God. I'm letting go of everything go into God. Isn't that beautiful? And it wasn't natural. It wasn't something he's been doing all his life. He just made the choice that this was something. I didn't even know it was something he wanted. But there was something in that conversation that said, oh, this is something, I have this great, my meditation and my reading and all that, but I'm missing this element of the devotional life. So we choose to say, I want to be connected, not just as the I am, but to feel an intimacy, because it's the greatest intimacy of all life. And so as we travel on this path of bhakti, we give ourselves over to something or someone that has a greater love intelligence. Paramahansa Yogananda, for those of you who remember, he was a bhakti yoga, path of devotion. When he was born, he had this passion to get closer to God, and he wanted to find his teachers. And if anyone who's read the autobiography, I know many of you have, he's doing everything he can to find his path, to find who and what he can devote himself. He's already devoted to God, but he was looking for a form, and we're going to talk about forms in a minute. So as you read the autobiography of a yogi, he finds all these amazing spiritual teachers, people who are clearly operating at a higher level of consciousness than the average human being. And he learns from them and he likes them, but they're not it. He's like, oh, that was great, but that's not it. Oh, that's great, but that's not it. When he sees his what becomes his guru, Sri Yukteswar from a distance, that's him. And he knew it immediately. Immediately. His soul resonated with Sri Yukteswar, and so therefore he gave his life to learn and to study under Sri Yukteswar. And they carried an intimacy throughout life and beyond life. And this is an element of the devotional path we have to understand. So first of all, I want to talk about form, because when I read about Bhakti Yoga, they always say you need to have a personal form. in order to feel a personal intimacy. So you can pick your form. You can pick whether it's a person or a saint that's on the other side, or a great spiritual teacher that's walked the earth like a Jesus, which Hindus look at Jesus as, most of Christianity as a bhakti, a path of devotion. There's not that they're not the other paths, especially like Jesuit would be Jnana Yoga in the Christian tradition, but primarily a bhakti path. But there's a form, there's a person. And then the question I started being with, well, does it have to be a person? And I think of someone like Liz Gilbert, who's been 25 years, y'all know Elizabeth Gilbert? Yeah, the writer, Eat, Pray, Love. And she's had a practice for 25 years where she begins every morning writing, "Dear love, what do you want me to know today?" And so she's communing with just love itself, but it's an otherness. She's not saying, "Dear I am, love I am." She's saying, "Dear love." She's opening herself to this incredible power of love. So when you choose, say, this is something I want to connect with more deeply. That's why the Jnana Yoga is important, to say, okay, how do I experience, what do I say God is? What does that look like for me? Is there any type of personhood for God, for me, or for love? Am I in love with truth? You can be in love with truth if truth has a voice and can commune with you, because that's the next step, is commune, talking back and forth. You have to listen as well as talk. It's a back and forth conversation. That's how the communion happens. Love is always here. That's the third point, but first, finding what you believe. So for me, my first experience of the divine, as most of you know, was through love as a child, through the infant Christ. But I would have never had that experience if I hadn't been taught that Jesus was all love. I'm just saying this to the parents out there. When I think about what I learned, I did go to Sunday school every week, but I learned more from my mom. My mom's views held a greater import, so she was very big on, she didn't know if Jesus did miracles or was resurrected, but what he taught was really exceptional, and she thought he was the best human being that ever lived, which made him accessible to me. He wasn't up there. And then in church, I was learning that he was pure love. He never judged anybody. He accepted and loved everybody, no matter what, all of the time. You didn't need to deserve it. You didn't need to earn it. And I got but remember, that's conceptual, and I was little, so it was a little drummer boy I was on, and my mom going, "Oh, I really love this story." And it's a story of a boy who's very angry because of what was done to his parents. I mean, he should be angry. And he goes to baby Jesus, and he doesn't have any great gifts. He's not a king. He's just like a little drummer boy. And I remember it still gets to me, and Jesus loves even him. So when I was a little girl, that's a story that that was the Jnana Yoga. I had been training my mind to understand that this presence of God, who Jesus represents, is pure love all of the time, no matter what. We don't need to deserve it. We don't need to earn it. We don't have to be special. We don't have to have anything significant. We're just loved. And so at a time, in a moment, at Christmas season, when I felt the lowest and just poured out my heart in sadness, I at the same time told myself, "And I know you still love me." And that was key. Because I had done the learning that in the moment when I needed it the most, I know you still love me. And that's what led to this transcendent experience of God's unconditional love. Another experience I've had, which I've told you about, was when I was reading Little Woman. This was summer before 10th grade, and I'm related to Beth. I identified with her. She dies. I pop out of my body on the ceiling looking down at myself. I never thought about that experience when I had it, because I never learned a concept that I could conceive of where I could leave my body. So I had no context with which to even contemplate it. So I never did. It was an experience I had, but I didn't have any thoughts about it until years later in college. I'm writing a paper on Zen Buddhism, and my concepts are expanding and opening, and suddenly I remember that experience way back in high school, and now it's very disorienting, but now I have a way to start thinking about that whole experience that I didn't have before. And so I'm sharing this to say, because as I read these paths, traditionally they're often very like, you're this or you're this. And I think they work so seamlessly together that what we think about is in our heart. It's hard for me to surrender and devote myself to something if I don't know that I'm truly loved and seen. That's a concept. If what you've only experienced in life, no matter what is hard, and no one's ever taught you that there's this presence that loves you, you might even have an experience, but you have no way to hold it because you don't even have a concept that there's anything that could love you that much, that could love you that deeply. So we do the concepts, but we don't stay there. From there, we can trust. We make a choice. I want to have a personal, intimate relationship with this divine presence that loves us like we are the center of the universe. And we do that by courting the invisible. I still remember, if anyone who knows me for all the years, because it's one of my favorite Michael Beckwith quotes, we court the invisible until it becomes more real to us than the chairs upon which we sit. And it always stuck with me because I remember sitting in a chair listening to that and thinking, well, this chair seems pretty real to me. So what would that even look like to court the invisible so profoundly that it becomes more real to me than the chair upon which I'm sitting right now? That's what it means to love and be devoted to God. It's not that we're just here to be vehicles of God. We're hoping to receive from God. We have to give this divine presence our love, our beingness, our day, our pain, our fear, our joy, our good, our wealth, our poverty, our sickness, our health. We give this presence over and over the truth of who and what we are. Because we start to discover something so beyond words. And I think it's probably, this is the hardest path for me to talk about because I can't explain it. Other people are great at it. Rumi's great at it. Poetry is really wonderful, but I'm not a poet. All I know is that I know that I know that I know that no matter how much I might screw up, I'm loved. No matter what I do wrong, and even if I continue to do it wrong, I try to change and I don't change, I'm still loved. Not conceptually, but in the heart. We do have to sink into that heart space, and that's a vulnerable space. That's the place where we can't protect ourselves anymore. In the mind, we can still, even in the concepts, and so I'm just going to jump to my favorite way of understanding it, because it mirrors what my experience was, and that's with Ram Dass. Ram Dass is a meditation teacher. He works with different teachers. Maharaji is his main one, but he loves the Buddhist practice. Are you all familiar with mindfulness meditation? Raise your hand. Mindfulness meditation? Oh, good. Okay, must be good. So your heads are too subtle. I couldn't see them. So great. Mindfulness meditation, which is the witnessing. Mindfulness meditation is currently $1 billion business in the United States right now because it does. It's that you can get into that state where you're witnessing yourself. So the world isn't getting to you as much. You're detached. It's impersonal. You're witnessing. I'm human, Harriet having my human experience, and then there's the witness that's witnessing Harriet having the human experience, but I'm not all caught up in it. It creates space. It's fantastic. It's vast. It's joyful. It's free. There's so little baggage because now you're in this infinite space. It's wonderful. But what I found was that it was still missing something for me. And so that's why I got what's this path of love? How do I love more? Because I had a relationship, but I felt like I was the only one, and I didn't know how to deepen in it. And that's the practice of doing it all day long. And you have to just say, okay, everyone else might think I'm nuts, but I am going to completely give myself to this relationship. This relationship is going to be the center of my life. Everything I do, this relationship with the divine is the most important thing in my life. And even when I had Julian conversations with God about that, I'm a mother here, okay? You are first, but I am a mother. But I never stopped doing my spiritual practices. I never stopped. And my spiritual practices aren't just I'm doing the I am. My spiritual practices were birthed from devotion to God. I give this to you. God first in my life. You are all that matters to me. You are the reason why I am on this planet Earth. I would not be here. I would not want to be here unless I was here for you. Everything I do. And so everything became about God. When I was reading about Ram Dass, what he said is that after he had so he was mindfulness meditation, he's a meditation teacher, so many people learn from him, expansive, all those high spiritual states. And he said when he had his stroke, he said all that mindfulness started to start sinking deep into his heart. And he realized where he really was and wanted and mattered was to love everything, to have every aspect of his being pouring through with love. To be healing that heart, because it's our heart that has all the layers of blocks and walls. What is it Rumi says? That we don't have to do anything to love except to heal the barriers in our heart. You can be free out here, but then when you start coming into your heart, you got the blocks and the walls and the fear and the separation and the otherness, and I'm doing it wrong or they're doing it right, all the stuff, but it's not thoughts, they're feelings. It's emotion. Emotion is intense. Emotion is you want to think the right thoughts, but your emotions are like, "Arr." And he said, so as he was I believe he had his stroke in the early 2000s, I can't remember, in the early 2000s, and he's paralyzed. He's in a wheelchair. He's become a different person. It takes him a while to speak, but he's giving himself to the Maharaji as he's never given to him before. And he has this beautiful sentence, and it was like when I read it, I felt a little less alone in the world because it mirrored sort of how I felt. And he said, I give everything over to the Maharaji within me and out. There's no separation. It's all one. And the Maharaji watches over, he is in charge of, not watches over, is in charge of every minute detail of my life. The Maharaji is in charge of every minute detail of my life. That's what a devotional life is. And he said, as I get closer to death, all I want to do is just to continue to melt and melt and melt again into my heart and be nothing but love and one with the divine as all life. As Houston Smith said, those people who are devotional and live it deeply all the time, they love the world too, but in a very different way than other people, because all they see is the face of the divine wherever they look. It's in their soul. He says, you say the name of God over and over, whatever your name is. It's called Japan is the I'll check in with you, Sanjani, the word. You say, so whatever your name is, you say it over and over and over. He said, so till it melts into your subconscious mind, the divine love just melts in your soul, whole subconscious mind is so much bigger than our conscious mind. You keep saying the name of God, you keep saying the name of God, you keep saying the name of God and giving yourself to it, and it becomes, your whole subconscious mind becomes the life of the divine, watching over our human existence. And we surrender to it, and we give ourselves to it, and we love deeper and more deeply. That's the path of devotion. We are cared for. We are loved beyond our wildest imagination. You are, as I believe it was St. Augustine who said, you are the center of the universe where there is no circumference. Every person is the center of the universe, the center of the divine, where there is no circumference, which is really what Reverend Michael was saying today, that each and every one of us is loved. And to allow that love in completely, that's why it takes time, because it's scary. Because every one of these paths to God, the way we become one with God is to give up more and more of ourself. Give more and more up of, so In the Jnana Yoga, it's an impersonal letting go. In the Bhakti Yoga, it's totally personal. You're giving up the heart, the feelings, the emotions, and you're surrendering. So I want to end with this, but I wanted to say this. There is a challenge to it. And the challenge is, it's hard. Because it's going to ask everything from you. So just like Ram Dass had a stroke, Maharaji is overlooking every part of my development. A stroke where he's paralyzed and has a hard time talking and teaching, and he does, and he gets better until I think it's 2016 he transitioned. Yogananda, when he first met his guru, the guru didn't go, "Oh, I love you so much." His guru was a Jnana Yoga. That wasn't his personality anyways. He tested him. He didn't test him to see if he's worthy. He already was worthy. He was testing him to say, how much are you actually willing to give yourself on this path? Is this just like a feel good, I want to feel good, I love you so much, and I love loving God? Anyone who's been on this journey, it's going to ask everything from you. The more and more you go, the more and more those layers and the healing and the healing and the healing. So why do we do it? Why would I go through that? Why would any one of us go through that process? Because it's the greatest love of all. There's nothing of this world that even comes close. And so I just keep working at it, and I know we all do. I know every one of us are on this path. I feel so many of your hearts as you're doing the journey and the stuff. It's different for everybody, what comes up for you, the blocks, the things, but we give ourselves. We give ourselves so we can be not just that expression of the I am as love pouring through and as us, but so we can fully and completely be seen, being known for all of us, not just a part of us, our entire being, to be seen, to be known, and to be loved. That's the path of devotion. So I hope this week you maybe take a chance to go a little bit further on your path of devotion. Wherever you are now, just go a little bit further. Is there something else that I've been withholding? Because it turns out, when it feels like God's withholding from us, often it's us withholding from that divine. Is there something that I've been withholding that I can give a little bit more to this divine love? Can I trust it a little bit more? Can I surrender a little bit more? Surrender is the path of the Bhakti Yoga. It's, use me, I'm here for you. I will give myself to you. I give this day to you. I give this service to you. I give this thought to you. I give everything to you, every emotion, every feeling. And from that place, we get to see a life of love. I see every person. You are the face of God. You are love itself. I choose to see that first when I see somebody, not my history with you. I'm talking about I, but I mean all of us as the I. I'm sort of thinking of the path. When we're on the Bhakti path, we see the face of God. We choose to see the divine face that we're so in love with, that we are giving ourselves over to. It's not just up there in the sky. It's right there in front of me, right? Everyone here is the face of God. That's what we choose to see. Isn't that, in Hinduism, isn't that what namaste means? I see the God in you. We lead with, I see the God in you, and not just as words, but with my heart. And the reason why I can do that is because at home, again, not me, as a Bhakti devotee, anyone who's in Bhakti devotee, we're at home, we're doing our loving practice all the time at home. So when we go out into the world, we just continue it in every situation, as much as we can. As much as we can. So give yourself, I offer and invite you to try to give yourself as never before to the love that holds you and accepts you completely, unconditionally right now. All the love that has ever been and ever will be is here, right now, the center of your being. Mother, Father, God, infinite love, intelligence of the universe, how great thou art. You are the reason to wake up in the morning. You are the reason to continue to push past the boundaries of comfort, to go beyond where I've ever been before. As we each and every one of us do this presence, give ourselves over to go beyond what we've ever thought possible. We do it for love. We do everything for love. Everything for love. Beloved Mother, Father, God, you have changed our lives. The moment we recognized and seen you from the time we were babies, through all the different stages of our development to this very moment, we love you. We love you. We are yours. We belong to you, and you belong to us. And in that belonging, we find our way. We find the way that moves us forward in ways beyond our wildest imagination. We let go in total trust, in total love, in total surrender, knowing that all life is the revelation of how great thou art. In deep abiding gratitude, we let it be, and so it is.
I walk in God in all